This is a Wild Game Production podcast. Listening to the Roll for Initiative podcast, the only Advanced Dungeons & Dragons first edition podcast out there.
The Roll for Initiative podcast, we're at issue number 200 on volume number 7. I'm Vince, and I'm sitting with Matt.
Hello, everyone.
And the great Nick.
How you doing?
What a great how you doing there, buddy.
How you doing?
So we're back with a full show this week. We got some good things planned to you. We also have some announcements to take care of and get those out of the way. We're close to about almost 10 years of doing this show, wouldn't you say, Matt?
Yeah, let's see here. It was 2009.
Yeah, so we're about 9
years.
Yeah. Yep. September 2009, I think, was around the first show.
Mm-hmm. I think I came on in December.
Yeah, right after, pretty much.
Yeah,
right.
Pretty much,
and then I came around in like August of 2010.
after Jason suckered you into coming, asked you to come onto the show.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, actually, you started out as just an editor for the show, and then you kind of weaseled your way into being on the show, but like a silent person on the show until we're like, Matt, you need to speak.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Albeit when I was the silent person, it was far easier for me to produce the show on location.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised at some of the odd locales I was doing shows from.
Well, you were, for the longest time, like when you were in the background, you were kind of like our Google Foo guy.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just
bring
like
up something with a matter of seconds, you would find it on the internet somewhere.
Yeah.
It was kind of like how Letterman had his producers. He wouldn't say anything else, and his producer would tell him something. Like, oh, yeah, sure, okay.
Yep.
All right, with that said, this show's going to go into a little bit of a hiatus over the next, year. We're going to probably move this into a quarterly show with specials coming out while we recharge our batteries a little bit and actually focus on a little new direction for us. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
It's exciting. I
Right.
can say that. I was excited about it.
Right. Yeah, we had the idea for a new project. And with issue 200 of RFI coming up and everything, we're like, we've covered, when it comes to just like the core books and like this type of things, we've hit a lot of those topics.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the OSR, there's so much out there right now with people doing podcasts and websites and all that compared to what it was when we first started in 2009. Back then, it was still a new thing, and it was giving birth, but now its wings have sprouted, and it's ready to fly off on its own. So,
Hopefully it won't fly too far close to the sun. Just like
Yes.
Yeah, it's not like the show's not going away. We'll have our mini issues still coming out here and there, and we'll have to do a quarterly show. But we wanted to move into focusing on something, that we all decided might be kind of fun to tackle for a little while. And we're going to move into doing Marvel.
Right, yeah, because this is something, surprisingly, no one's done.
No, yeah.
And we're just like, really? No one's done
And yet,
Marvel?
from what I guess you found out in your research, there's quite a bit of a following for that game.
Yeah, the classic Marvel TSR game from the 80s and 90s has a huge community, not just on the message boards, and you can download the free stuff, but they have a huge following on Facebook that there's people working on new stuff every single month. They're dropping it. So we got lots of great stuff to look at, and it's a fun game. We figured no one has done anything for this except for some actual plays here and there.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yes, and so I'm excited about it. I mean, just look at the past 10 years with the whole, Marvel Cinematic Universe and how much that's conjured up a lot of interest and, it made it really fun. So why not, go back to the old role-playing game and talk about some of the stuff from there. I think it's really neat.
Yeah, so by the time this comes out, we should have the show. The website will be up and running, and we'll have our trailer episode up, just introducing everything, which is episode 0. Little quick 10-minute thing so everybody can listen in and get, subscribed and everything. And then we'll be releasing shows one at a time, like we normally would do. So hopefully you'll go there. What was the website address, Matt?
ClassicFaceRip.com.
So we'll be
Classic, FASERIP.com.
So it'll be the Classic Face Rip podcast. Yeah. Did we get our email address set up too?
Yes, we do. We have bullpen at ClassicFaceRip.com.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. That's a great email address. Cool.
Excelsior.
Yeah, we'll still use the same voicemail line of 570-865-4210 for voicemails in case we get those, and we'll be ready to go.
Yeah.
So, with that said, we can head into Table Manners.
Typical. Of all the evil creatures in the world, I had to find one with table manners.
What are you kidding me? I spent years cultivating the worst table manners on the planet.
Table manners.
Okay, in Table Manners this week, we actually, this is a really cool topic, I guess, because of the latest Stranger Things show. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about Demogorgon and gaming with Demogorgon. I never gamed with Demogorgon.
Well,
I don't know him personally.
He likes to hog all the corn nuts, I heard.
Yeah, he's a corn nuts kind of guy. The nacho ones.
Mm-hmm, definitely. I heard he also likes bugles, too, but that's a different story.
Yeah, it's a whole different thing. He tries to put them on the ends of his tentacles.
Yeah, it doesn't work out too well.
But, talking about this demon from AD&D, and I'm looking at the origins of the actual, creature itself. I mean,
yeah,
I was discussing this with Matt before the show. Is if you look up the name Demogorgon in Wikipedia, it's actually, in a nutshell, supposed to be like a deity or a demon, a primordial being from the underworld, and over time it was actually, his name was taboo even to say.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But there is some historical evidence that might say that when the name was translated from Greek mythology, it might have been a mistake from translating the word demiurge from the Greek. But after that, it just kind of grew over time, and particularly into the medieval period, and then he ends up into all the grimoires. I mean, Milton brings him up in Paradise Lost, and so on and so on, and it just became its own thing, and it evolved into partly, what we have in AD&D is the Demogorgon there. I just thought that was a real interesting history about the, I guess, quote unquote, real history behind the name of what it is that is Demogorgon. But it sounds like it translated pretty well into AD&D, because Demogorgon, like my say so, is a badass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought it was, with Demogorgon also, it's what do you see, like 18 feet tall, and got the 2 tentacled arms and the baboon heads and scaly and all over it. And he's just, I would not want to face this guy, let alone in a dark alleyway. Just, the hypnotism ability, and, the gaze from the right head can cause insanity for 1 to 6 turns.
Yeah.
And then the forked tail, which causes energy drain of 1 to 4 levels each time it hits. That's not good. So, and then so on and so on and so on out of the I mean, I could go through what's in the monster manual, but everybody could pick up theirs, and that's just a brief, rundown of Demogorgon. But I think it's more important, more interesting is how you can use Demogorgon in a campaign. And I think it's the idea, because of being he's quote unquote the prince of demons, he could be the major protagonist of an entire campaign.
Nick, I've never ever used him whatsoever in any of my games.
Neither have I.
It just never appealed to me to use him for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's so cool.
I never have either. I mean, it's one of the things with when it comes to the high level demons and demigods and those types of things. It's just my campaigns never get that high to actually bring that in to where you could actually go and you might deal with people that worship him or follow him, but you'll never get high enough to actually go one-on-one with a Demogorgon.
Right. and I think the same way too. I mean, I guess you can use Demogorgon in a way that he's manipulating things way out in the shadows and from one of the layers of the abyss too. But I think you bring up the thing about how most campaigns would be, you're going to be dealing with worshipers and cults that are associated with Demogorgon more than Demogorgon itself. Maybe you get higher enough levels, you might be dealing with, the head priests, maybe even some wizards that might worship Demogorgon.
Yeah, it's always going to be cult followers. It's never going to be him.
Yeah, almost always. But you also keep in mind that Demogorgon, along with most of the major demons, and you can throw the devils into this as well, going by Deities and Demigods book, they are treated as lesser gods. When there's that list of non-human deities in the monster manual, from the monster manual in the Deities and Demigods, and Demogorgon is listed one of them. You treat those as far him and others as far as powers and abilities when you cross-reference in that book with some of the abilities of a lesser god. So that comes into play as well. They're not just, he's not just a demon. He's a lesser god in his own right. And he does have worshipers. Maybe not a whole lot.
Right. And then with Demogorgon, you can see him being the type that's going to try to gain more power, gain more followers to gets way up the old hierarchy there.
Right.
So that could be part of the plan, because there's always the issues when you get all these demons. They're trying to one-up each other. So you could even have something going on where you have the cult of Demogorgon feuding with the cult of another demon.
And who would that be? Who's his major rival? Orcus.
Right. So you could find your players being involved in a story that involves Orcus and Demogorgon's followers being in conflict, and the players either have to pick a side or figure out how to stop them both.
Right.
Because those two existing in the universe actually has a sort of balance to keeping one from being too powerful. So in a way, having both there is a good thing.
That just puts a whole other element into a campaign. If you're going to use Demogorgon, I think it would be almost inevitable that you're going to run into other cult worshippers of Orcus, and you might get caught up in a kind of a turf war between the two,
Right.
So that would be an interesting little twist. It could almost turn into a situation of like the enemy of my enemy is my friend sort of thing.
Right. But then if you do too good of a job, you upset the balance of power, and then all of a sudden you have to make an about face. So, and this is something that you can also do a slow build over time to where the players start getting involved with some of the cult activity or whatever, but don't really know the deeper meaning behind it. And perhaps they don't figure it out until it's too late and they've already inadvertently picked a side.
Right. And also depending on, if I look at it here, depending on the campaign setting, he does kind of play a part in them. I know in World of Greyhawk, if I remember correctly, he's opposed by some of the other demon princes. I forget their names. Was it Grazit? And there's that other one. So I know, kind of going along the lore along with that, when they were writing up the whole campaign setting, I know, Gary Gygax, he handled how the demons would interact in the world. And if I remember correctly, Frank Metzer dealt with all the devils and how they would interact within that campaign world. And Demogorgon, if I remember correctly, if I'm reading this right, Demogorgon is responsible for the creation of the Death Knights. The ones out of Fiend Folio.
Yeah.
There's only 10 or 12 of them. So there's also that element too. I'm wondering how that could be used in a campaign. Maybe the Death Knights or a Death Knight is the leader of a major cult and you have to stop him. Something like that.
He's trying to bring back the Demogorgon.
Right.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Something like that. But, I'm trying to also think of, what other ways you can use Demogorgon in a campaign setting.
Honestly, unless the players are higher level, there's really no opportunity to use him unless you're going to use him as a focal point for the campaign. I mean,
right. I mean, it would almost have to go along the lines of how the whole, the Giants series, how it started, how Lolth is just kind of in the background.
True.
And eventually, that's how almost a campaign, if you're going to involve this demon in it, it's, I guess, the lack of a better term, it's going to be like a slow burn,
How did they use him in Stranger Things?
Well, it was just like they came upon him in a dungeon.
So he was just chilling in a dungeon.
Well, no, it was like, he was like, the interesting thing was there was a group of troglodytes that their characters ran up against, and then the troglodytes kind of scattered, and then Demogorgon showed up.
Okay.
Now,
okay.
And they refer to the Demogorgon as not the Demogorgon, but a Demogorgon, like it's one of several, like it's a type of creature, not an actual, demon in its own right.
Well, that was what, 1984 it took place?
Yeah, the first series was 83.
So maybe it was just there wasn't a lot of information on it, and what they saw was just like, hey, maybe there could be more than one. Who knows?
Well, that's a possibility.
Right.
That's a possibility. But I think the idea, when they were talking about, there's troglodytes, that kind of plays into what Demogorgon is. If in the monster manual, Demogorgon is associated with scaly reptilian creatures, also octopi, squid, maybe, Yeah. And so the troglodytes, I could see that would fit.
Yeah, they fall under the fish people category, so therefore you could see that. It's kind of anything that would...
Troglodytes are more lizard-like than fish.
Yeah, the scaly living in swamps.
Right.
Yeah, basically anything that could worship like a Cthulian monster could also worship a Demogorgon.
That's what I was thinking, too. I think, and in fact, what is it, those... I read it somewhere. Oh, yeah, it actually, I think it is in Deities and Demigods when they bring up Demogorgon. If I could find it here.
Yeah.
Give me a moment. I'm trying to think of where I read it.
Well, while you're doing that, I was doing a little research on him and seeing how far up the chain he went as far as edition wise, and he's been pretty much every edition there was, and he was when I was looking at Dragon magazines, because, you know, we kind of mimic a Dragon magazine, he was in 357, and I had to laugh when the list that had his stats as AC of 59.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, in 1E terms, that's like negative 40 almost, negative 39 almost. I was like, how is...
Well, there was a hit bonus inflation over the years. Just kind of like the epic levels of those editions was like 30. Whereas if you were level 30 in an AD&D game, you're a god.
True.
So...
You still need like a 20 to hit negative 39.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was weird. Oh, here it is. It's under, actually, I think I'm pronouncing this right. You know those intelligent ray creatures on a monster manual? They're the Zitachitl?
Oh, yeah.
They worship Demogorgon.
Oh.
Yeah, those evil vampiric manta ray creatures that live in the ocean. And I guess...
Under the sea. Oh, sorry.
Under the sea. In a not a very fun place.
Yeah.
Under the sea. So, of Demogorgon, and their priests have been known to go up as high as 8th level. So, there's that as well. If you're going to have some sort of underwater, maybe ocean based campaign or partly ocean based,
yeah,
I could see that race kind of they would be pulling the strings for Demogorgon, maybe on some other creatures, or maybe they could be they could be terrorizing a seaside village or town.
Yeah.
You know, stealing away people in the middle of the night and sacrificing them to Demogorgon. Something like that. Yeah. So that's a possibility. I mean, by the whole idea of, like, you know, reptilian creatures or evil aquatic creatures, you know, that you could go almost anywhere with that, you know?
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, it runs into the same problem of anything when it comes to these high-level demons. I don't think my game will ever get high enough to where they'll ever actually deal with them directly. So a lot of these high-level demons, devils, my players will just never see because we don't just play a game long enough. And I think... and that's something to consider when you start plotting this out. You may want to do something where maybe you accelerate their leveling to make sure you get to it if you're not planning to play for an extended period of time. Because otherwise you'll never actually get to your climax, or you will gladly slaughter your players when they are well underpowered with Demogorgon. So
yeah, I wouldn't even approach it in a way that they'd even encounter him. I think it's more about, like, thwarting his, you know, plans of where they might be manifesting. To me, the idea of actually confronting a major demon like Demogorgon almost never, if not gonna ever happen.
I used plenty of demons as focal points in my campaigns, and devils as well. But they never really, some of the demons, I shouldn't say demons, devils did interact with the party, but it was done through, like, avatars and things like that. So they never actually got to fight him. Well, in the Tyranny of Asmodeus campaign I had, they did wind up screwing up, and Asmodeus did come into the world, but they actually had found a way to get rid of him with a wish, so it worked out.
It all worked out in the end.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what else I could say about Demogorgon and, you know, using him directly in the campaign, but I think it's the consensus here is if you're going to use Demogorgon, it's more of a puppet master. You know, he's in the background manipulating things for his worshipers, cultists, what have you.
Yeah.
And then just going by the description of what he is and how he's associated with certain creatures, then you could just have your imagination as a DM run wild with it come up with some pretty interesting plots and scenarios.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. With that said, we'll head into some DM rules.
Are you enjoying the show you're listening to right now? Want to help support the show? Why not head over to the Patreon site, patreon.com/WGP. That's patreon.com/WGP. And help support the network for as little as $1.50 a month. That's right, $1.50 a month goes a long way. Thank you.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want, but I have a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. I will look for you. I will find you. And I will kill you.
DM rules, yeah. So, looking through my little book of things that we can possibly talk about on the show, and I found some ritual casting rules that we had used a while back because during the 4E era of D&D, a lot of people, they introduced ritual casting, and it was never in 1E because really there was no purpose to it, but you get some of those players that want to do ritual casting because they think it's cool or because it might be something different and it allows them to do different things out of the ordinary. So I did come up with some rules how to incorporate it into a 1E game. I listed them out here, and I'll go over them real quick, and then we can kind of just chew on it and see how we like it. So you can cast a spell in the form of a ritual that you do not have memorized from your book or your scroll. Well, that you can already do as it is. No big deal, right? But you can cast these things that are higher level than you without any real repercussion. Like when you did that with higher levels, it was always a really bad negative effect on you. This time, this allows you to take the time to do it as a ritual, so you can cast a spell that is higher than yours. If there's a higher level, you must make a sacrifice, such as blood, which would be hit points of you, or a small animal. The higher the level of the spell, the more HP or the animal size that's needed. So HP starts at 1d4 per level of the spell above yours. Blood sacrifice can come from more than one character that's in the ceremony. More than one person can participate in the ritual, magic user or not, but no more than the caster's own level. So if he's level 3, only him and 2 other people can be in the ceremony. Let's see here. For each level of the spell, it will take that many turns for it to go off. If interrupted, the ritual fails automatically. If the ritual is interrupted halfway through, the ones in the circle will suffer the the ones in the circle will suffer the effects of the ritual or some other detrimental effect at the DM's discretion. Those are the rules that I came up with, and it worked out pretty well with some adventures, and they eventually stopped using it. But what do you guys think of that?
I think there's some pretty good rules there. I like them. Then the fact that you have this option, but it's going to cost you in one form or another, and you have to be absolutely sure you want to do this because if it's interrupted, bad things can happen.
Yeah, it's not like you're going to be like, oh no, we're being attacked by this big monster. Let's run in the other room, lock the door, and hope we can get the ceremony done. No, this is one of those things that you plan for and you do it. And my group happened at the time were like big on let's sacrifice things to the gods to get answers type thing. So that's where this inspiration came from. So
So what kind of spells do you think you could use this? I mean, can it be used for any spell?
Well, I don't see the purpose of using this for a fireball spell.
Right. But I'm thinking this is something you would use for like identify.
Yeah.
Those type of things where
find familiar.
Maybe.
Okay.
Well, find familiar is a low level spell, so
right.
Still, that one takes time.
Yeah.
It was
costs quite a bit.
It was mostly they were using it for things like getting answers from a higher authority or
those divination and things like that.
Divination and stuff like that. Okay.
Or they wanted certain things, so they figured they can do a ceremony to locate the item, kind of like a location spell type thing.
Okay.
Things like that.
Yeah. For more where you just the the spells this typically works best is when you need information. Like, hence why this is something where a party gets a bunch of stuff. They have like their detect magic. Like, okay, they know it's magic, but they don't know what it is. So now it's like, okay, let's all go spend 8 hours and rest so I can memorize my identify spells, identify all this. Then we'll rest another 8 hours so we can actually get real spells to go on the adventure.
One opportunity I remember that they used this for was when one of the key NPCs was murdered. So they used it to summon his soul into the circle so they can find out who killed him.
Yeah, I'm looking at like some of the spells that I think this would work, at least magic user. Could you use this for cleric spells too?
I wouldn't see why not.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious if it works both ways there with divine and arcane magic.
Yeah, the only thing with the clerical spells, the sacrifice would probably be, I would say, different depending on your god. Some of them may not like having the blood spilled.
Right.
Some of them may want treasure or something else.
Okay. Well, I'm looking at like some spells, like if you want to quote unquote consider high level, like maybe, I don't know, I guess 5th level or higher could be considered going into high level spells. But I mean, I could see like conjure elemental maybe. That would be maybe.
No, that would work. This.
Yeah.
Visible stalker.
Yeah, visible stalk. Yeah, there you go.
Get your own visible stalker to help you out, you know.
There you go. Maybe animate dead.
Yeah. Floating disc.
Yeah, that would be a good one. What else would be good here? Geas. The Geas spell. Yeah, I can see that being used. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it really could fall under anything that's really not an attack offensive spell. I mean, maybe a curse, but...
Something maybe more of a ritualistic that does take time. But maybe you don't have all the ingredients to make that happen, so you could do the ritual thing.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, this is also like if you need your reincarnation or anything of that nature. Boom, this is what you'd want it for.
Mm-hmm.
Resurrection, yeah. That'd be kind of weird what happens to that, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Now that you mention it, yeah. That would, what else would be good? Heck, you could use this to maybe a gate spell.
Yeah, that open a portal to somewhere else, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe maze? Maze spell?
Maybe. It really depends on you as the GM what you want to allow. So
right. Hey, if you wanted to cast Leomund's tiny hut,
yeah.
Hey,
I almost see this like this is for spells that aren't just like they're just cast in a few segments. These are for like spells that they do take some time, but this is kind of a quote unquote shortcut to make it work quicker.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
So, yeah, but it's a very chancy shortcut. That's
right.
Sure.
Well, I wouldn't even say it was a shortcut. I would say time-wise, doing the ritual version would take longer to cast than it would be if you had it memorized.
Yeah, but the upside of it, you're casting a spell that's higher level than you can actually normally cast.
Yeah.
I guess that's where you have to weigh the pros and cons. Is it worth it?
Right. And then
that's the aspect I like.
Right. It's like
the gamble they're taking.
Pulling things well above your ability.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. That's when bad things can happen.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's why I get the idea. That's why Vince designed it the way it did.
Yes.
I'm not going to say a word.
Vince is very much about tempting his players.
Not going to say a word.
Do you really want to do this?
Yes. I got Vince is very much DMing like a demon would. Or a devil. It was like, here, just sign this deal. Hell, you'll get what you want. Don't read the fine print.
Yeah.
Yes, the evil DM, so.
Yeah. Mind that fine print, yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez, Nick, that's an evil laugh.
Now the question is, though, would you let them do a ritual for a wish?
Actually, I would.
Yeah, I would, of course.
Absolutely. Wish or limited wish?
Yes, especially for me, it would be especially fun if they're they're well below the ability level to cast said wish.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So
like a 5th level magic user, and he wants to cast a wish
right.
spell.
And then so you have not only the typical things with wishes, and you must be very careful what you wish for. Now you also, well, I'm not very good at it either.
Right.
So that could lead to some fun.
Yeah, it could.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's hear what the people out there have to say about it. I'm interested to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How they might use it. So head into some creature feature.
Are you saying that I put an abnormal brain into a 7.5-foot long gorilla?
Creature feature theater.
And this week in the creature feature, we are going to go to the realm of the Titan. Yes, we are going to talk some Titans here.
Teen Titans? Sorry.
Well, they could be Teen Titans. Because they are. They can be kind of moody at times. I mean,
that would be funny if any Titan that you encounter is a teenager.
Right. Yeah, they're not quite full size, so they're not quite towering over you as much, and they're a little more moody than they already are. I mean, when you are created by the gods, of course you're going to have some weird personality quirk. They do, for whatever reason, the first offspring of gods tend to have some severe emotional issues.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff going on there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, with the Titan, you're not really going to run into them on the prime material plane either. So they're on like other planes above the material. Occasionally they'll venture down, but they're going to stick out like a sore thumb because, well, they are a Titan.
Yeah.
And these are interesting because there's a lot of range in what you can get from a Titan. Like their hit dice is 17 to 22. Their armor classes, you roll a die to determine that. So it leaves a lot of flexibility, and when it comes to actually creating like your specific Titan, as for which deity created the Titan and what they're there to do. They're also ridiculously powerful, being the offspawn of gods.
Yeah.
Invisibility at will, levitate. Then you get to their magic abilities.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Magic user and cleric spells at 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th level. I do find it interesting they can't cast 1st, 2nd, or 3rd level spells. But hey.
They don't bother with them.
No. It's beneath them. They are.
Exactly.
They I can even see playing them as that. Because I mean, their intelligence is genius to super genius, and they consider those like little parlor tricks. That it is like, if you're a Titan that does that, you're like an outcast. You cast
considered
magic.
A loser.
Loser. You simpleton. What are you? Only super intelligent, not a super genius?
Yeah.
They have all their magical abilities. Then they have, if you use psionics, oh my.
They possess 8 or more psionic abilities, possible for clerics.
Yeah.
It's and then they speak their own language. There's the 6 dialects of the races of giants and common, as well as chaotic good, because that's their alignment. They're all chaotic good, which is something I probably would tweak, make it more in line with the deity that created them. And then because they also deal with storm giants, they're on friendly terms. They're buds. So if you run across a Titan, you might come across a storm giant. And their appearance, they just appear like very giant humans. But I guess the question is, though, what do you do with them?
I was surprised that there were no modules that just based around Titans like they did with giants.
Right, but
if there was,
it'd be kind of cool.
I think there's.
Oh, there was one?
I thought there was a module where there Titan in it.
I know I remember talking to Thorky way back in the day, and he was thinking about doing a whole Against the Titans type module thing that, to mimic the Against the Giants thing.
Right.
But I don't think he ever had time to finish it. But we were talking about it for quite a while.
Against the Giants series, there was a Titan that was... Isn't there a Titan in one of them?
Yeah, there's...
That was like a... He's a captive. I think he's a captive of the Fire Giants.
Yeah, there's not really anything...
I could be wrong.
Module-wise that I'm finding that has it. I mean, it was like there was a Sea Titan that was in Dragon 16. But that was about... And then besides the original Monster Manual, that was it for first edition. And then even going through, it was like in Basic, they didn't show up till the Immortal rules, of course.
Right.
Yeah. Just a quick scan of things. They've never really been a monster. And
I'm trying to think if they were even in a module.
I don't remember seeing them anywhere.
I don't think they ever were, because they fill a weird spot when you think about it. Because one, I mean, they're chaotic good, so they're not going to be like doing super evil things, but they're like low-powered gods.
I found it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it is Against the Giants. It's in the Fire Giant one. There is a Titan. He's on dungeon level 2. He's in one of the cells. He's a Titan. Yeah, this unfortunate is chained and drugged. He has 20 hit dice, armor class of -1, and blah blah blah. He's able to employ spells up to 6th level clerical. If he were aware, he would help any party to destroy the inhabitants of this place. Although he would certainly not mind seeing evil characters in any party die also. Only a neutralized poison spell removed the drug from his system before 12 hours time, where it will be naturally eliminated. So there is one instance. He's actually been captured by the Fire Giants. So I knew there was one somewhere.
Yeah.
But I mean, like in a whole adventure in their own right, I've never seen one either.
Yeah, they've never really been the focal point. And just looking at them, and they just fill this awkward spot. It's something that you could have like, oh, there's a Titan over in this land, and he kind of keeps the order or something, but...
Yeah, I think and if I remember correctly, isn't the girdle of giant strength you can get up the Titan strength into? You could roll for it. And so they are considered like one of the giant races. So that they have their own separate listing in the Monster Manual. So they're like the very, I guess, top of the hierarchy of all the giants, I suppose.
No, the girl isn't the girl a giant strength, just hill, stone, frost, fire, cloud, and storm?
I thought you could go all the way up to Titan. I could be wrong on that.
Because I know it got it varies depending on which one, but let's see. Because
it goes up the storm. I'm wrong. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I didn't think it hit Titan. I mean, you can see where why giants and Titans would get along. I mean, Titans are like...
thinking of that, what was it, that Maul or Matic of the Titans?
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, Matic of the Titans. That's an interesting weapon in itself. So...
Yeah. I actually think it would be... Just thinking about it now, using them, I could see if you did want to go the Teen Titans route, they're a little moody. So therefore you have some Titans that aren't quite as powerful or as large. Yeah. So you tone their powers down a little bit, but they're also a little moody and they lash out a little bit and they cause a little problem and the player's got to go fix it.
They're all filled with that teenage angst.
Right.
Now Titan sized. Great.
Exactly.
Imagine they throw a tantrum.
Yeah.
Not good. I would not want to be around. No.
Right. Yeah. Moody Titans are not a good thing to be around. they will shorten your life expectancy by a lot.
Seems like it. So there is like at least one instance in a published module. It is against the giants in the fire giant portion that Titan does here. Now, I don't know, using them in a campaign. Again, you could almost, I don't know if you'd like.
Maybe as
they're so high up on the food chain, you know.
Yeah, it's falling into that like Demogorgon, that level of power that it's like they're low enough that you're like you could almost see it because they're close to that storm giant, but they're just that notch up higher that it's like your campaign's taking a weird turn if you start battling Titans.
You don't have to battle them. You can always go to them to ask for help, or maybe they have an item that they have been legend to be in their treasure, and you need to go convince them that you need to borrow it.
Right. I kind of see them the same way you do, Vince. I think where you're going at. They're kind of like...
They're set pieces more.
Yeah.
Right. I think they definitely set themselves above, quote-unquote, the mere mortals. So they don't necessarily meddle in mortal affairs. They kind of set themselves apart. So you'll probably find them in, out of reach places, like on top of a mountain, on the bottom of the sea. I think is one of the other places you might find a Titan.
Places that are generally unobtainable unless the really like heroic people go searching for them.
Exactly, very much in the Greek mythological.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah, that's actually where I was going. The stories you would tell using the Titans would be more along the lines of those Greek myths than your typical fantasy hack and slash.
Yeah, I like the idea that you said, Vince, that you're out to seek them for, knowledge, advice, maybe maybe they possess something. There's a Titan that possesses a magic item that you may wish to get, and maybe you have to go on a quest for the Titan to prove yourself worthy to get that item.
Yeah, you have to go through like a series of trials to prove that you're worthy. One, to prove like you're honorable enough to even possess this and not use it for evil. And then you also have to prove you're competent enough to actually accomplish what you're doing and prove to the Titan, why should he even care?
I just picture this now that you're talking about it, it's like I'm picturing this like this Titan lives on this small island, and you go to him, and it's like, we would like to use your amulet to help destroy
the Demogorgon.
The Demogorgon. Okay.
Yes.
Tie it all together. Will help destroy this cult of Demogorgon who's trying to take over the world. Well, you're going to have to go through some sort of trial to able to use the amulet. And you could go off with the whole Greek thing that you got to battle hydras and minotaurs and maybe a Medusa. You could do the whole thing, and that would be so much fun.
Every time I think about Titans, I think of that Star Trek episode when Kirk goes on that planet. And
you do too?
Yeah. I don't know why. Every time I think of Titans, I keep thinking of that.
Adonis?
Yeah. I always think of that episode. That's how I picture the Titan always look and the setting to look like.
I am Apollo.
Yeah. I don't know why. It just happens to me.
Yeah, that picture always reminded me of him in that episode too. So, yeah, I guess that's kind of a way you can go with using Titans.
Well, cool. I would like to hear how other people use a Titan in their game, especially. I mean, if this maybe helps someone or they have an idea to bounce off of what we did, please write into rfistaff@gmail.com and let us know. We'd love to know about that. I think we do have some sage advice, so why don't we head into that?
Okay.
Sage advice.
Sage advice. So as we were talking before the show, guys, DMBM.
Okay.
That's what he wrote. Wrote in to us via our website. He went to RFI staff. He went to RFIpodcast.com and clicked on Contact Us, and he wrote in Mage. The subject is called Mage. In Stranger Things 2, all the kids talk about their roles in the party. Mike is a paladin, Will is a cleric, 11 is described as a mage. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there is no mage in AD&D or Basic in 1984 when Stranger Things 2 takes place. That's a second edition change. Am I right? Please enlighten me.
You're right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We were talking about this before the show, and we were trying to figure out why he might say that, and Matt had a great, I guess, way of saying it. Matt, why don't you go ahead and explain what you came up with?
Yeah. But if you were to ask someone who's never played an RPG, what is the name of the person that throws magic in like Dungeons and Dragons, they're not going to say mage. They'll probably say wizard.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I mean, they're not going to say magic user. They're going to say, like, wizard, maybe a mage or a sorcerer or something like that. So I think they went with mage because it's close to magic user, but it's not. And that way you're not going into, like, other editions spellcasters. So I think it was more of, and plus mage just kind of sounds cooler because otherwise, if you just imagine if you threw the user for every other class in the game.
Yeah.
The fighter's the sword user. I'm a lockpick user. I'm a cross user or a holy symbol user. I mean.
Yeah. That would sound kind of lame.
Yeah. When compared to the other classes, I'm a magic user. So I think it was done they took some artistic license just to make it fit more the themes of the show.
Yeah,
because that's
exactly.
When you rattle off the list of classes, that's the one thing that sticks out. I was like, that's a little silly. In retrospect, it's silly.
In retrospect, yes.
Yeah.
What about in the Conan movies? Didn't they call the magic users mages?
Weren't they sorcerers?
They called them sorcerers.
Okay, all right. Yeah, you're right, sorcerer. I was going to say that was very popular at the time, so maybe that had a hand in it. Oh, well. Yeah. But yeah, that's your reason. And unfortunately, it's a TV show.
Sorcerer or wizard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately.
Because I remember Valeria referred to Thulsa Doom as a wizard.
Okay. Well, it's a TV show, and they can do whatever they want.
That's right. Hey, at least they haven't said since it's said in like 83, 84 and started using the Orange Spine books.
No, because the nerd rage would be just off the hook.
Those books weren't even invented yet.
Well,
not been around yet. It did not come out to 1985.
Well, little did you know, Eleven's power was also has time travel and traveled to the future and brought back the Orange Spine books.
Yeah.
Well, I think she's more of a psionic type character.
Maybe she used a DeLorean, and wait, it wasn't around.
Right.
Anyway, so that's going to wrap up the issue 200 for everybody out there. We will be back in 2018 with another show for you guys. We'll continue along with some more mini issues since everybody seems to love those the most. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we'll be back. Other than that, you can find us at the Classic Face Rip podcast. So
ClassicFaceRip.com.
Yeah. Good night, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
The Roll for Initiative podcast is part of the Wild Games Productions Network and produced for entertainment purposes only. All other uses are prohibited. If you'd like to contact us, go to RFI.podcast.com, click on Contact Us, or email us at rfistaff@gmail.com. Voicemail line 570-865-4210, Facebook.com/RFI Podcast for more.